Japan has long followed a more pacifist rhetoric recently when it comes to defense. However, in the geopolitical realities of the recent decades, the phrase, "if you desire peace, prepare for war," is gaining increasing relevance, even for the land of the rising sun. Having secured the support of the United States, the Japanese began developing their own interceptor missile to counter the latest hypersonic warheads of the PRC, North Korea, and Russia. In this video, we'll be telling you everything currently known about the new wonder of the Sakura homeland and how its national missile defense works. The expansion of nuclear and conventional arsenals in the Indo-Pacific region has exacerbated the security dilemma for all its participants. China relies on growing attack capabilities, including intercontinental and inter-regional medium and short-range ballistic missiles, to assert its claims to sovereignty. And North Korea regularly claims success in its UN-prohibited weapons programs, demonstrating its intention to strengthen its nuclear weapons delivery capabilities, directly threatening South Korea, Japan, and the main military ally of both, the United States. In order to provide a worthy response to its good-natured neighbors, Japan decided not to sit idly by, but to actively buy anti-ballistic missile (ABM) defense systems and create its own. The concept of missile defense itself is, to put it mildly, not new. It arose in the early years of the Cold War, as part of the overall strategic competition between the USA and the USSR. The idea that enemy ballistic missiles could be intercepted and destroyed in flight opened up the prospect of security systems based on the principle of active defense. In those days, as in the present, this option was much preferable to the idea of security based on mutually assured destruction. The apparent attractiveness of owning missile defense systems has especially increased since the early 1990s. The 1991 Gulf War increased interest in theater missile defense (TMD) systems, designed to protect U.S. and allied forces abroad. These immediately played into the hands of the creation and formation of a few factors regarding national missile defense systems. 1. Missile capabilities are most actively being developed and are acquired by, to put it mildly, not the most trustworthy countries that cause concern, such as the DPRK, Iran, Iraq, and Libya. Looking back at recent decades, it's not too difficult to predict that the possibility of ballistic missile use by these countries seriously complicates the decision-making of the United States and its allies during global crises, especially if such missiles are equipped with nuclear warheads. The danger of such a development was confirmed, at least when Iraq used short-range ballistic missiles against UN coalition forces during the Gulf War. 2. The development of ballistic missile technology by countries with financial and political incentives to export has further accelerated the proliferation of systems, technologies, and components for such missiles over the last decade. As these technologies become increasingly available on the global market, so does the likelihood that rogue states and extremist organizations may acquire ballistic missiles in the near to medium term. 3. Over the past 20 years, there have been significant advances in the variety of technologies needed to build even a limited missile defense system and the associated supporting infrastructure, including sensors, rocket engines, radars, and guidance systems. All of the above have greatly increased the incentives for the United States, Japan, and other countries to research, develop, and deploy missile defense systems, both in theaters and at the national level. After the Gulf War, President George W. Bush supported a scaled-back version of President Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as Global Protection Against Limited Strikes, GPALS. In 1993, President Clinton downplayed the importance of missile defense in response to arguments that short and medium-range ballistic missile proliferation posed a greater threat to forward-deployed U.S. forces. However, since the early 2000s, the United States has greatly increased its attention to the development of national missile defense in response to growing concerns about the threat of the North Korean long-range missile program. To deal with the threats of enemy ballistics, Japan could combine three categories of measures: offensive measures, as well as passive and active defensive measures. Let's take a look at all of them. 1. Offensive measures include counterforce weapons, conventionally armed offensive missiles, strike aircraft capable of destroying enemy bases, ballistic missile bases, launchers, C-3 objects, command, control, and communications, as well as counter-value weapons like weapons of mass destruction, WMD, and aircraft capable of destroying entire population centers. Such measures make it possible to deter potential aggressors from threatening or using ballistic missiles with any type of weapon, both nuclear or non-nuclear warheads. Although hawkish politicians and defense strategists often embrace this option as the best option, Japan has largely ruled out acquiring highly effective offensive capabilities, both conventional and nuclear, for historical and domestic political reasons. And the United States clearly did not want the receipt of this type of weapons by its ally to be considered a provocation in the DPRK or the PRC, destabilizing the Asia-Pacific region. 2. Passive protection measures, which includes all effort aimed at reducing the effectiveness of enemy ballistic missile attacks on Japan. That is, civil defense, deception, camouflage, strengthening targets, their mobility or duplication, etc. Granted, these measures should only be in addition to a more impressive counteraction to threats, and in no case should they be perceived as fundamental. 3. Active protection measures, consisting primarily of efforts to intercept and destroy attacking missiles, and including all forms of missile defense. To be successful, active protection measures require maximum amount of intelligence about potential and actual threats, early warning, possibilities of close tracking and cueing, ability to distinguish incoming warheads from decoys, effective battle management system, highly integrated command, control, communications, and intelligence C3I infrastructure, and, most importantly, interceptors capable of targeting fast-moving targets and neutralizing them, such as the freshly baked Yomiuri. In order to reliably hide from all types of aggression from its neighbors, Japan intends to secure a multi-level missile defense infrastructure consisting of lower-tier and upper-tier systems, boost phase intercept, and national missile defense. Lower-tier systems are designed for point defensive territories and interception of mainly short-range ballistic missiles, less than 1,000 kilometers, in the atmosphere, as well as cruise missiles and aircraft using slow-flying interceptors maneuvering towards their targets. This is where Japan will benefit from the Patriot PAC-3 and Sea-Based Navy Sea Area Defense (NAD), as well as Medium Extended Air Defense Systems (MEADS), which destroy terminal stage short-range ballistic missiles (SRBMs) and cruise missiles. Upper-tier systems can protect fairly large areas when used together with Point PAC or NAD, intercepting ballistic missiles with a range of up to 3,500 kilometers, using hit-to-kill interceptors with infrared sensors. Among such systems, Japan needs Theater High Altitude Area Defense (THAAD) to destroy SRBMs, MRBMs, medium-range ballistic missiles, and IRBMs, intermediate-range ballistic missile, with an apogee of 40 kilometers or more in mid-course and terminal phase, as well as Sea-Based Navy Theater-Wide (NTW) Block 1 or 2 to engage SRBMs, MRBMs, and IRBMs at altitudes greater than 100 kilometers in ascent or mid-course. Boost phase intercepts assumes the possibility of early interception, requiring rapid detection and the most precise placement of interceptors on the front line. Such interceptors are capable of destroying ballistic missiles in the initial, boost phase part of their flight, while their rocket motors are still burning and before they deploy independently targetable warheads or countermeasures. Japan will find air-based laser, ABL, useful for defeating ballistics of any kind within a couple of hundred kilometers of ABL-equipped aircraft, space-based laser for targeting any missiles within sight of the satellite, air-based unmanned aerial vehicle with interceptor to target any ballistic missiles within a determined range, as well as elements of sea-based NTW system, although NTW still needs to be upgraded to be able to intercept in the boost phase. And finally, National Missile Defense, NMD, needs to intercept ballistic missiles over a large territory, wherever these warheads may be coming from. Variants for Japan include land-based systems, similar to initial or augmented systems planned for the US to target ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, sea-based augmented NTW systems to target MRBMs, IRBMs, and ICBMs at high altitude, and space-based systems similar to those in US research programs to target ICBMs. Japan is now considering at least 10 types of missiles to enhance its counterstrike capabilities. For example, standoff missiles purchased under the 2019 Medium-Term Defense Program, including Joint Strike Missile, JSM, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, JSSM, and Long Range Anti-Ship Missile, LRASM. Additionally, the country aims to deploy the upgraded Type 12 surface-to-ship missile from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, with a range of up to 1,500 kilometers by FY 2026. Up until FY 2027, the missile list will be replenished with another 500 American Tomahawk cruise missiles. And in the first half of the 2030s, all this will be polished by hypersonic glide vehicles with a maximum flight range of 3,000 kilometers. The enormous speed of hypersonics, combined with the densely populated areas of East Asia, further complicates Japan's job as a defender. After all, Tokyo is located a mere 1,200 miles from Beijing, China, a distance that a hypersonic missile can cover in just over 12 minutes. And the North Korean Pyongyang or Russian Khabarovsk are not much further away either. This means there will be very little time left to intercept possible ballistic targets. In August of 2023, the US Department of Defense announced information about a joint program with Japan to develop the Glide Phase Interceptor, GPI, with the participation of RTX, formerly known as Raytheon Technologies, and Northrop Grumman. GPI will be the second joint development of an interceptor missile between Washington and Tokyo, following the Allies' successful collaboration on the Advanced Interceptor Missile Project, Standard Missile 3, SM-3, Block 2A. Its main goal is to counter hypersonic warheads being developed by China, Russia, and North Korea. The future missile defense system will be able to launch modified missiles from surface combatants of the US Navy and Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, aimed at intercepting hypersonic weapons during their most vulnerable glide phase, which occurs after launch and before re-entry. The U.S. Missile Defense Agency (MDA) budget request stated that the GPI is scheduled to be delivered in FY 2035. However, Congress, in its 2024 National Defense Authorization Act (NDAA), determined that the Glide Phase Interceptor program will achieve initial operational capability by the end of 2029 and full operational capability by the end of 2032. Lawmakers have shown a willingness to add money for hypersonic defense requirements, which is encouraging. In the 2024 NDAA, they doubled authorized spending on hypersonic defense, adding $225 million to the Pentagon's $208 million request to speed up the development and deployment of GPI. For GPI to shoot hypersonic missile downs, they must be effectively detected. So, Long-Range Discrimination Radar, LRDR, with a 220-degree wide field of view and arrays measuring 60 feet high by 60 feet wide is one of the top priorities today. Furthermore, LRDR was already initially deployed at Clear Space Force Station in Alaska, but 2024 through 2025 is poised to be pivotal years for the capability, as MDA outlined plans in its budget to test and incorporate it into the agency's increments and achieve operational acceptance and transfer of the system to the U.S. Space Force. What do you think? Will Japan be able to impress its aggressive neighbors enough that they'll discard the notion of any hostile actions against the Sakura homeland and its allies? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell for more content like today's. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.